I'm a fan of the Gundam series, but I say that pretty lightly. I mean, who hasn't at least been a little intrigued by the idea of fighting in huge giant-sized mechs with battles set in space and laser swords, beam weapons on some Star Wars shit? Damn, I don't know what it is, but Japanese and American people alike must really dig lightsabers in our imaginary futuristic worlds. I say that I'm a fan of the series lightly mainly because the only thing I've really seen that's Gundam outside of the mechs is the anime Iron-Blooded Orphans, and for those that haven't seen it, wow, what a watch. But also, wow, that shit'll have you depresso espresso for weeks. Okay, anyway, besides the point. I've always thought Gundam in video game form would be an unforgettable experience, but I have to say, even with such a promising formula to work with, most Gundam games I've seen seem to be lackluster to say the least. Except for Gundam Evolution. I know, Overwatch clone, but damn, that game was good fun. So, looking for my next Gundam fix, I decided to go off the beaten track and give SD Gundam Battle Alliance a try. Was it a promising experience? Well, I guess you'll have to watch the rest of the video to find out. First off, I think the best way to describe this game in a sentence would basically be, it's Dragon Ball Xenoverse, except with the Gundam series. Now, if that at all sounds appealing to you, you should absolutely purchase this game, but there are some caveats here and there. Again, the main story is very much like Xenoverse in that you go on missions to resolve breaks, or specific points in history within the Gundam universe that are going haywire all of a sudden due to reasons unknown to you. For example, on the first mission, the Gundam you're usually supposed to fight transforms into the Gundam Barbados, piloted by Mikazuki August, someone who's definitely not supposed to be there. It's not bad. I assume they went this path because, hey, it's a compelling way to retell a story relatively easily. All the assets you need are there and done for you, and all the devs really need to do is tweak a few things to change things up on you. There are also these things called true missions that only become accessible after you beat the respective break mission associated with it. And I think these are pretty freaking cool. See, beating a break mission doesn't actually resolve the problem at all, because the true missions are how you make sure Gundam's history plays out in the correct manner, while break missions are just a nice twist on their stories. But I feel like there was a bit of a missed opportunity here. They could have made the missions a bit more dynamic in that if you complete a certain objective within a break mission, then that opens a branching path into another parallel timeline within that specific universe. I definitely thought that that's where they would be going with it, but nah, too cool of an idea, right? Instead, the missions play out fairly linearly and in a very much AB fashion. I definitely think Xenoverse did this idea way better, while Gundam Battle Alliance feels like it stole the idea, made it super basic, and did nothing creative to add on to what Xenoverse did with it in the first place. Not to mention, there's no English dub here. Can you say lazy? Now, I have no idea whether it was a matter of laziness or lack of care on Bandai Namco's part, but come on, what were they thinking? Not that I don't like playing my games in Japanese, but with this game especially, it's a problem. Because they'll be talking during the mission about things going on during the battle, but because I'm so focused on the game, I don't got time to be reading what they're freaking saying, so all in all, I'd rather not have them constantly buzzing in my ear during gameplay. Oh my god, Mikazuki, are you gonna be okay, bro? I gotta heal, hold on. Oh my god, I can't. I need to focus, the boss is tough, there's so much happening. Oh my god, Origa, what are you doing? I'm trying to fight the boss. You guys are all talking at the same time. I can't even hear myself think! Seriously, they really needed to include an English option within this game with how much dialogue there is during battles. And the fact that an English option was neglected is more of a misstep than it usually would have been because of this problem. The story within the missions also don't really make that much sense either, but I am more or less a newcomer when it comes to the series. Still, the game on its own doesn't do a great job of why we're having this battle, what's supposed to happen within this mission, what's changed from the original timeline, so you kinda just go around and whack things because really, the game doesn't care enough to explain, and therefore, you don't care enough to learn. I imagine this is different if you're familiar with the entirety of the Gundam series, but I just wanted to state my viewpoint. There's also a multiplayer feature for the missions, which is a nice to have, especially when I consider the Gundam Blueprint system, which we'll get to in a little bit. Let's talk about the combat. The combat can be some decent fun with some added nuances into the combat system to make you want to get that triple S combo ranking a la Devil May Cry. You can combo them into the air, counter when guarding at the perfect time, and extend your combos with a chain breaker for maximum style. The attacks look good and feel flashy, with 2 sub-weapons to vary up the combat, as well as a dash and ranged weapons to make your Gundam the most versatile it can be. This all sounds really cool, right? Well, it is. When you can freaking see your chibi Gundam doing the stuff, the camera is a major problem in this game as well, and the little chibi cities blocking your view in the second mission don't do it any favors. Okay, well, how about instead of locking onto your enemies and focusing on one when there's so many on screen, just let the camera be freeform so you can look where you need to at all times. Oh, too bad. The game auto-locks onto an enemy whenever you attack them. I don't know if this is a feature you can turn off, but man, was it pissing me off. Especially because the game stays locked onto the enemy for an extended period of time even after you've killed them, because they still gotta go through the explosion animation. God, man, hurry up. At least the boss fights can be pretty badass. When that Gundam soundtrack starts to hit and you're dashing around, just narrowly dodging the boss's attacks while you retaliate with some of your own, whew, the game can be pretty untouchable. Not to mention, the boss intros usually treat you with some really well done cutscenes with some nods here and there to the show. You gotta appreciate that. And while I wasn't a fan of the chibi Gundam art style at first, I gotta say, it really grew on me. It doesn't really take anything away from the badassness of the battles during the cutscenes and within gameplay, at least in my opinion. But, again, there's a caveat. The only real problem I had with the boss fights is how they wouldn't flinch at all during my attacks, and when they hit me, I was getting wombo comboed into oblivion. I understand that you're supposed to break them in order to make them flinch properly, but when the only way to reduce their break gauge is to attack them, it really just becomes a matter of get the aggro on your allied pilots, then attack when the aggro isn't on you, run away when it is, until you eventually break the boss to get your massive damage in. After you beat the boss and complete missions, there's a chance you'll get Gundam blueprints, which unlock new Gundams for you to play as, which have different sub-weapons and varying different mechanics depending on the type of role your Gundam fulfills. One type is ranged, another is melee, and the final type is balanced. I like it, and the Gundams do feel unique enough when switching between them. But as with everything in this game, yup, there's a caveat. With certain Gundams, you have to replay certain missions in order to get their blueprint multiple times so you can analyze the blueprints to 100% and unlock them fully. In other words, it's a grind fest. Now, I love a good grind. Hello, Monster Hunter fan over here. But when the missions aren't engaging enough to have significant replay value, that's where I gotta draw the line. Not to mention, it's much more efficient to just upgrade the Gundams you have at the start of the game and use those, since all the new Gundams you get along the way start all the way back at level 1. So your older Gundams will be more upgraded than your newer Gundams, and it's just a pain in the gundass. So yeah, unfortunately, this game is a mixed bag, and at $60, gah, it is a tough recommendation. There definitely is something to like here, and I was hooked during my playtime, but I couldn't help but notice some glaring flaws within its design that I just had to mention during my review. For hardcore fans, I definitely think they'll enjoy this game thoroughly, but outside of that, wait for a discount. And with that, it's time for me to talk about my Patreon that I just launched. Guys, if you like this review and want to see more like it in the future, then please head on over to my Patreon and support me there for as little as $1 a month. Come on, that's like 65 Gundam Battle Alliances. Give me a break. There's also a $5 a month tier where you can see exclusive videos, scripts, live streams, and more. But no matter what tier you choose, I will be sure to include you at the end of every single one of my videos going forward. So head on over and check it out if you want to support me, because I'd really appreciate it. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or Gundam Breakers never coming to the States, guys.